Greetings and welcome to this episode of Geeks First. Today, while I may not be feeling the best in the world, it's been a while since I had a video and I got a laundry list of things here that I'd like to go over because they're all things that I feel are important, and if I get too far behind, well, it won't make any sense. So for that, we're going to go ahead and downsize me to down here, and we're just going to kind of have a talk as I go through some thoughts. Of where we're at. So first on the list is Dynasty spoilers and thoughts so far. So I am beyond hyped for the Flesh and Blood Dynasty set, and you know I'm ecstatic that LSS is going down the path of allowing each class to kind of get some new items. There's a couple of things that people are starting to track now that we've seen a couple of the spoilers, which we'll talk about here in a second. So it looks like, you know, there's going to be a plethora of weapons, some new heroes, sounds like a new class. There's going to be some intermixing. Several of these have been already released, and so I'm just going to skip to another section here, but it looks like you had a Merciless Battle Axe, we had a Hanabi Blaster, we have a bow. I did not catch the name of that one just yet, but it is for the Ranger. We got a shield that just got released. That was a Guardian shield. I think it was... let's see here. There was a couple other promos that got released or talked about. That was on the... oh gosh. Team Covenant. Why am I spacing on that? It was on Team Covenant. So I know that the Axe came from Tall Temi. I think the Hanabi Blaster came from 983 Media. And the Ranger came from Go Again Gaming. If I had to think of those off the top of my head. I hope that's correct. If not, I'll correct myself in the comments below, because I'm doing a one-shot tonight just so I can go to bed, so I can get better. One interesting fact is the Hanabi Blaster. I looked that up because I was kind of curious why they picked the name of that. It means fire flower in Japanese. That was kind of a really unique thing. Why is the spoiler season so interesting so far? So unlike Everfest, where Everfest is the second supplemental set in the Flesh and Blood history, Crucible being the first, not every class at the time got support, but not every class got new weapons, and it's not shaping out to look like what they're trying to do with Dynasty, so I'm pretty excited for that. My joke at the moment is, and I put this in parentheses, is Dynasty is basically going to be Crew 3.0, or in my opinion, it's really Crew 2.0. I think it's a better successor to what a supplemental set will look like in the future going forward, but that does open some problematic scenarios where as time progresses, there won't be necessarily enough spots in the set unless they make it really large if they continue to release classes. So I don't know how this is going to be addressed in supplemental sets going forward, if they're going to go with like a yin-yang approach, or if they're going to have to kind of branch that out. But we are going to start seeing where in this set, which is going to be different than how Everfest and Crew were structured, there were a smaller number of cards for each class, and maybe that's how they approach it. But I'm going to have to see how that goes. So that's one of my topics I'm going to be looking for as we go forward. I did want to say that this is the 8th set, which to me is kind of mind-blowing. I jumped in really at the Arcane Crucible Award kind of milestone mark, but I really didn't go to the first tournament here in Indianapolis. My pre-release was in Monarch. That was my first pre-release that I was able to go to, because the pre-release has already happened for Crucible. But I had purchased basically from my LGS a bunch of Arcane and Crucible War, and that was my first kind of interaction. So the fact that we're on set 8 is that's an interesting milestone so far. And if you were to look at TCG card counts, which is what I've been tracking, I don't know if anybody else has been trying to keep up on that, but if you start looking at some of the games that are out there in the same genres, age groups, or even beyond, as Flesh and Blood releases new cards, their card count will go up. So as an example, MetaZoo today is 2,490 unique cards. Digimon is 2,647 cards. Dice Master is 2,719 cards. Final Fantasy TCG is 2,986 cards. And Flesh and Blood has finally crossed the 3,000 barrier at 3,020 unique cards, according to TCG Player. Now that's with variants. So we are right there. The next milestone would be if we can pass the universe, which I believe is considered My Hero Academia. It's that whole card genre in there, and that is 3,806 where they're at today. And the true, you know, I would say pinnacle of where I'm hoping that they get to surpass is going to be the WoW game, the WoW TCG. That was at 4,735 cards. And at the rate of card releases, so at about 250 to 300 playable cards per set, you're probably looking at 5 to 6 sets, and if the release cycle holds true of how they're kind of looking, that may very well be within the next 1 to 2 years, especially if they throw in this PV, and depending on how, you know, LSS handles the PvE piece, there might even be a bunch of new cards that would also count toward that. So it's a funny number, but it does, you know, to me mean something as I watch the game grow. The other interesting thing that happened this week, I believe actually today, is the official marking of Flesh and Blood turning 3 years old. So that is fantastic. Very large congratulations to everybody there. I look forward to seeing more stuff come out, and I think everything so far has just been very, very interesting. I like how things are being handled so far. I'm pretty impressed at where things are going, so I can only assume that the next 3 years, you know, if we check in at the 5-year mark and 6-year mark or whatever, it's going to be really unique to see where the game has grown. And yeah, so that's going to get me into the general TCG talk update here. So we're going to kind of blow through these at a very high pace. So we have a couple of TCGs we're just going to mention here. Lorcana, which is the Disney TCG that's by Ravensburg Games that's being produced. Not a lot is really known about that, but it sounds like some new information is starting to surface from there. People are still going crazy over these cards. I don't know why people are spending this much money on the promos, because I get there's a bunch of fans of Disney characters, a bunch of fans of TCGs, and a bunch of people that are just trying to make a bunch of money doing whatever. But we don't really know the mechanics of the game. We see a couple cards, and yes, I get the, you know, early adopters might get some benefit from that, but I don't know why people are spending that much money on it. So unless that's your cup of tea, more power to you. But there you go. We'll just kind of wait to see what happens with that. Cryptic, I just got a Kickstarter update today, I believe. Looks like they're doing some more comics. I think they're pretty much ready to go. They're on track. They're doing pretty good from what I can see. So can't wait to get my Kickstarter backing from that. Once I have those in hand, we'll be able to kind of go over those decks, do some reviews, and do some play testing with those. So that's pretty neat. Sorcery, I believe that they are, again, kind of on track. I've been hearing mixed reviews on it. I'm personally not affected because I know Kickstarter is a Kickstarter and you're just going to wait. So I think that things sound like they're on track, but at the same time, it's Kickstarter. So I don't see them running away with the stuff. I think they're one of the safer bet, you know, companies, so to speak. But at the same time, I'm also not sitting there. I didn't put a life savings into that Kickstarter, so the beeps have it. So just chill out. You'll get your stuff, I hope. We'll find out. Genesis. Their new set, I believe, is coming. There's something going on with them. I know I got some of their product over here. That was a fun review. We're going to start doing a little bit more game with that. Get that starter deck back out, and we're going to go ahead and kind of get some games from the top-down view playing of that. I don't have much else to say about Genesis this time other than, you know, there's some stuff happening. It sounds like they got a lot of, you know, things in the fire, so to speak, and I'm pretty positive they're going in a good direction. You know, they're not trying to go after the stonky stonk stuff. They're really trying to grow their player base, and I think that's a smart move. Grand Archive, so another kind of Kickstarter game. I don't know too much about what's going on with that one. I kind of just have let that one fall off the radar for me. And Vanquishers TCG, I actually backed out of that one because there was just a little bit of weird. Wasn't for me. I said I had my core of what I was interested in, and I just kind of, so I dropped my pledge down to $1, and I just kind of am going to watch and see what happens from that game. And if something comes of it, I'll look at it later in the future. But as of right now, I'm just not worth the time. I'm going to focus in on the stuff that I care about. My general Flesh and Blood update. There's a bunch of news basically about tournaments that are happening. You got the Worlds that's coming up. You got a bunch of other events. As much as I'd love to be able to travel to some of those events, day job, life events, things like that, they're just kind of preventing me from being able to pull those things off right now. So as much as I'd love to be at Worlds, I can't. You know, I'm definitely more personally on the level of casual, common, or UPF, making weird experimental decks, things like that. I like set collecting. So that's going to be where I'm primarily going to try to start focusing. I don't think I can be on the same brain wave as some of these, you know, hyper competitive individuals that are living and breathing at 8 hours a day, you know, 5 days a week, using Talishar to grind games and trying to, you know, net deck and make the absolute craziest, you know, masterful minding decks that are out there. I love to see them in action. I love to see the gameplay, but I just, at my level currently, I'm going to stick with my favorite class, my couple of favorite classes. I'm going to build some things around there and just kind of go from that. So if you're looking for hyper competitive stuff, I can point you in the direction of a few people I know that are doing that, but that's probably not what I'm going to be going down. I was kind of thinking that for back on Dynasty, there was going to be kind of a pre-release schedule. People had talked about it. There's a list of content creators under Fabrary, FABRARY.net, I believe. Link, I'll put that down below. And that Fabrary had a bunch of people that had been told they were going to have spoilers, but then all of a sudden in the last couple of days, ever since Tall Timmy and then, you know, Covenant and Az and all of them have basically started releasing these kind of like folders or these dockets of like snippets of lore, you know, talking about the Emperor and other various things like that. That's really exciting. That's awesome. I think that that's really, it's engaging. It, to me, that's content that I'd like to cover because it's not necessarily the, you know, hardcore tournament scene that I'm not into, but it focuses more on the lore, cards, card art, you know, different tidbits of things you can start to put together. So that's awesome. I really think that Flesh and Blood, you know, hit the nail on the head with that one. Jumping on to Pokemon, some of the new sets are just kind of insane. They're continuing to go down that same path of the more flashy variant like Magic the Gathering, things like that. I got told that the Charizard box that's coming up is basically, you know, people are trying to over-order that to an nth degree, meaning that it's going to be really hard to find it. I know that if you try to order through like GameStop, things like that, the people are actually getting their orders canceled. So just be really careful about that right now. There's a lot of people that are talking pretty, you know, hardcore about where that might end up, and don't overpay for it. At least try not to. If you really want some of the cards, you know, just try to find a reputable game store that's going to be able to sell it to you, and don't, you know, pay absurd markup prices for it. I'm pretty sure there should be enough of those to go around from what I'm kind of gathering, but there are also stores that said, you know, here's my entire 401k, here's my entire stock plan, just buy everything you can, and they're just going to try to turn around and sell them at market price at, you know, $300-$400, whatever people are going to want to pay. Magic update. Seriously, I'm going to do a separate video on this, but how the hell is Magic going to release basically collector's edition? I know everybody's heard this already, so it's not a hot take anymore, but like collector's edition cards, $1,000, you get 1 pack per LGS, it's 1 box, 4 packs, 60 random cards. You're paying $1,000 for. That's like $11 a card minimum, something like that. You're not even guaranteed to get a Lotus. There's a guy that did some, you know, basic, you know, click a button and roll your dice to see what you got, and I did that like 20 times, and the average was I had to go through like 10, 20, 30 boxes. You're talking $10, $20, $30,000, hundreds of $1,000s to try to get the Black Lotus, things like that. So, you know what? I have some old, what they call gaming ETC tokens. I'll get them out. They're in one of my decks. I got them back at Gen Con years ago, back before I think they got shut down. I think there was some controversy around them, but they're not the same artwork. They have a different back, and frankly, those cards to me were my proxies for my Power 9 for the longest time. I loved playing with them because when I had the Power 9, you know, while I had a heavy play Lotus, while I had a heavy play and Altar on almost all the Moxes, things like that, I knew they were valuable. So because I shuffle, I play with those cards, it was just easier for me to be like, hey, it's over here in a binder. That cool, I'm going to use these as a proxy. And almost nobody ever said no to that. But at the same time, as a Tendrils of Agony deck, it was a Storm deck. It wasn't exactly... Anyway, so I just don't understand why people are... I mean, I would just make the suggestion at this point, go buy an HP printer and just do your thing, because you're going to have way more fun, or just go pay an artist, get an alternate art, something. Just don't support this, because if you do this, you basically just informed Wizards that, you know, or Hasbro, you're behind it. Now the whales are going to buy it out. It's going to be a success. There's nothing you can do about it. It's already going to be a success. Just know that those cards are going to be worth more than some absurd amount of money in some whale somewhere. It's literally legalized lottery tickets. It's screwed. Whatever. So, Infinity also used the same foiling pattern as Pokemon, from what I've gathered recently, so that was kind of a unique thing to look at. I don't know why that became a big thing, but that is something, and I'd want to get one of those cards and actually do a comparison to a Pokemon card to see how that looks.
The last thing I have on my list is the Rudy 6.9 kit. So yes, I'm a gem keeper, and yes, I did get one of the kits. I did pre-open my outer box on camera. I have a video that's all recorded for that. I have a message out to Rudy. I won't go into the details on that at the moment, but I do want him to address a couple things before I end up publicly releasing that video. Otherwise, you will see that video sometime before 2024, because that is basically the video as is and the current way that it goes. So other than that, this has just been a quick update. Sorry for the lack of content here recently. Like I said, a lot of stuff's going on. I'm still kind of getting over some things, so appreciate it. So signing out until next time. No fly key. Make me really big and exciting. Dynasty. I can't wait. Hopefully there's cool mech cards, because I can't wait to redo my deck or make 2 or 3 different decks. Who knows? Also, if you speculated on some, I think today, 24 of the skulls in the wizard, or no, the ranger skullborn cross straps, which are cross. It's in Arcane Rising. It's the headpiece. It sold like 20 plus copies today when they revealed the bow. So expect buyouts, expect price fluctuations as we get into Dynasty further. But have fun. See you next time.